Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing, Ash?
Getting
Mm,
there. How are you, Chris?
I'm good. It's almost like was I eating
Cute.
just now? No. I mean, although okay, I'm not gonna jump into food just yet, but I
Tempting.
can. Yeah. Welcome back. Welcome back. We're gonna have another session of that that verbal what the F UX where we talk left, right, up, and down, select, start.
Down, up, left, A, right, down.
That's
Hmm.
right.
Uh,
And
yeah. So today on What the FUX,
yeah.
as per usual, for those of you who know, and for people who are new to the show, we have our little wheel of fortune. We are going to spin for the topic so that we can answer authentically and in the moment. So real vibes, full
That's true.
tea, mostly salt. Let's spin. You ready, Vanna?
Van is always ready. Yes,
Spinning. Ba, ba,
always
ba,
ready.
ba, ba, ba.
I wonder if
Ah,
it's oh,
well, here we go. Boo to boot camps. What the FUX are options for education in UX? Woof.
options for education in UX.
May I
Okay.
preface?
Yes, sure, by all means.
Okay, so yeah. Full tea, like limiting the conversation to the scope of my social media presence, which is purposefully restricted. A lot of conversations, at least on LinkedIn, about how bad boot camps are, how manipulative they are, and okay, sure, yes,
Can
but
be.
but the conversation never seems to include. But what are the other options for trying to learn about UX in this space? And I have to also preface by saying this is not the glory days of years past. I see a lot of people saying, oh, just do what I did, go talk to experts and read,
Hmm.
look at resources online, this, that. I'll I think this topic is trying to get at if everyone's really mad at the reality that there are exploitative places for education that seem to predominate in the UX space, e.g. our boot camp, and or that they insufficiently get people ready for what the real is in UX, which I don't know that anything can prepare you for the shit show because UX is that's why we have this show. But I think if we keep having conversations about how bad something is, we're in the space of, well, this is shit, but what's the solution? And how do we help people who do want to get those skills? Right. So, what are the other paths to education, the pros, the cons, and the limitations would
Yeah.
be where my brain goes there.
So aside from boot camps, there's the self-directed path, self-learning
Yep.
path, to your point of go talk to people and go read. And nothing wrong with that. You see that pattern unfold in many other fields, development, web development, and engineering. Darn near anything. If you apply yourself and put enough of the hours in, you will achieve a level of professional mastery that can get you a job. And you can career pivot too. So there's that. There's also there's college, university, where they may have a different framework. And
the issue I think that's missing from, how do I say this? The issue about education and pairing it to an outcome like a career is that we all have different ways we learn. Some people need to be surrounded by people doing courses. Some people need to be on their own. There's different ways to learn for everybody. But systems like universities and colleges that have like these master's degrees in UX, it's like, but how is that any different than what people who've been doing it for 10 years have? Because 10 years ago, that program didn't exist. So while I appreciate that it might be good for people who are into that kind of thing, it's also a crazy amount of time and money. So, but again, I have to keep bringing back that point that we have to contain this conversation that I'm a career pivoter who did like a wicked fast boot camp and taught myself in a time when that was good enough on the back of a PhD, right? I don't care if you go to university, a master's degree, a boot camp, self-teaching, nothing can prepare you for the on the job. I think the discourse around the discontent in UX is an important conversation you don't necessarily have to go to school for. It's very present literally everywhere out there.
Yeah.
It's not included in education. It's how to manage it is not included in education. I don't know that it needs to be included in education. Work is
Yeah.
work. And you're going to
True.
show up and be like, dang, I don't know that. I got to level up. Or, wow, this is toxic. And
Mm.
that is true in a lot of places where I think the sense of community, these social opportunities, and these like having peers in this space, or even places like LinkedIn, is to click in and know it's not you,
Mm.
right? And then
Fair.
you can decide for your own self if that's something you want to participate in. But the knowledge base about the reality of UX, I think, is pretty clear if you spend time exploring the current lived experience of UX.
Yeah.
And then it's, the decision for your own self about how to learn.
Yeah.
But if you're going to do that self-teaching situation, like, how do you know which things to read from is the other problem. Like, I'm
Yeah.
literally giving a talk at work in a couple weeks about bias.
Yeah.
Okay, like, is it though? Like, is that legitimate? Is that expert? Or is that someone who is in a position, especially social media wise, who's very popular and is an influencer
Hmm.
that's able to get a message across, but maybe that isn't best practice? I think that participates in the chaos of what to do and when and why.
It can be difficult. And thanks for that. And thank you for that. It can be very
Mm.
difficult for a newcomer, pivoter, someone new to the space, trying to understand the who, when, where, why of entering a space like this.
Mm.
And how do you weigh the validity? How do you weigh the validity of the voice
Yeah.
of the person or educator or influencer? How do you choose one advice over the other, whether it's aligned or misaligned? And I don't, not misaligned, but just different from each other.
Yeah.
And when you think of socials, and this is not a negative against socials. This is about, like, thank goodness for like LinkedIn, because people can get visibility into the different opinions and choose for themselves, test, iterate, refine, and find what works for them as they grow and evolve and stuff like that. But to your point of influencers, it's irksome because just because a person is in a position and they've had X amount of experience or years, or they have status of some sort, being at a particular company, some opinion, I see some opinions coming from certain people. I'm not going to name names unless you pay us to. I'm kidding. They say things that are misleading, can be misleading. Like, you should never do this because you'll never be a true designer, and why are you doing that? And all these odd absolutes. Tricky how to choose who to listen to and who not to.
And you wouldn't know anyway, and especially if you're new. And so, I as a lecturer, I'd always tell people, listen, read your chapter first. Whatever chapter I assign from your textbook, read it. Do not take out a highlighter. You sit on your highlighter. You touch nothing. You highlight nothing. Do you know why?
What?
Because it's all new and you don't know what's important yet. Because it's all important because you're like, dang, because it's new. You need to sit back and absorb it and then critically think, oh, is this the major feature? Is this the piece that counts? How do I tether these pieces together? Then you can start highlighting and drawing and, extracting. But first you have to absorb, and then you extract, and then you go, oh, and some of this is just experience based. And so, is someone an influencer? Is someone an expert? That's the hard part. And I think especially in an era where, the loudest is the most popular, I think that can become very problematic. And so I think when we come back to this topic of, like, if not a boot camp or a condensed program, then what?
Yeah.
And I don't know.
There's another one that comes to mind.
Yeah.
So there's one more, internships and apprenticeships, and
Mm.
they're different. I define internships and apprenticeships as such. Internship is someone who knows practically 0 to 1 level of knowledge in that space, and then apprenticeship, I defined, and I mean I've been looking at these frameworks because looking to try to create something at my workplace.
Mm.
Apprenticeship is framed as someone who has a degree of training, a degree of exposure and education, and now they're looking to get real on-site experience. And so close, but I think there are tiers. So that
There
could be another.
are, and those are good as long as they're done the right way. So
Mm-hmm.
I've been in systems where you're not paid to do that, but it's required. There's no income, so those are difficult. But
Mm-hmm.
apprenticeships where you do have a standard metric of knowledge base of theory and then applied, and you are mentored the entire time. So the
Yep.
piece that matters is the feedback that is built to guide
Yep.
and to grow. And in the absence of that, I think we're doing a lot of harms in this space. We're just perpetuating the absence of knowledge and support, right? So
Yeah.
I like the idea of apprenticeships like built in, as long as we are not, uh, you know,
Taking
for
advantage of.
yes, and having pathways to allow for growth for apprenticeships, having pathways to allow for junior to move through and to be a part of a system to get better education, and that's how we do better as a
Yeah.
field. And
Yep.
it is frankly lacking. So I think you're right. I
Yeah.
like that
When
for the
done well.
future.
Pardon?
I like that for the future. That
Yeah.
would be good.
Yeah. I'm totally an advocate of paying people. As always, we'll see you soon. I'm Chris.
I'm Ash, and we need a
We
sign
still
off.
need an intro, a tag, a tail. That isn't shit. I was
Okay,
thinking of
bye.
Nightcrawler and Comic. Bye.